Hi, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about my art practice, specifically my commitment to environmental sustainability. In the 1980s I trained as a professional pattern maker because I loved women's clothes and I wanted to work in the fashion industry. But in a small country like New Zealand it's hard to get job opportunities in the fashion industry, and my own sense of style was quite unconventional. So I ended up putting my energies into building my own small business, designing. I employed sewing out workers and I wholesaled two boutiques using an agent. But the fashion industry is pretty tough and most boutiques were delaying payment for months and many of them didn't pay at all, and I went perilously close to going bust. And the going bust coincided with me realising I hate fashion anyway. What I really loved was textiles, embellishment, and the art of dressing unconventionally. I realised I loved clothes as an expression of individuality and as a rebellion against conformity. I still hate the fashion industry and I hold it in even greater contempt these days because of how the principles of maximising profit and the business model of fast fashion damages the world and our ecosystem. So over the last 5 years, I've completely stopped buying new fabric to make my art to wear garments. I had an exhibition in 2020 called 30 Coats. This is a little book I published about the coats that I made for the exhibition. All of the coats were made from upcycled fabrics that I sourced from charity shops, garage sales. There was a tiny amount of new fabric used from the prints that I designed and have printed through spoon flower, which are from my art. So at this moment I'm going to read you the artist statement which is on the back of this little booklet. If you're interested to have a copy of this booklet, I actually sell them through my Etsy shop and I'll leave a link below in the comment section. So this is my artist statement that's published on the back of the booklet. One of my foremost concerns as an artist is that the art I make arises from sustainable and ethical principles. As a human, I don't feel separate or alienated from the biological cycles of the Earth's ecosystem. I don't find it realistic to keep consuming whatever resources are available without insight and respect for the complex processes that were invested in the production. Consequently, I feel compelled to be responsible that my art production isn't destructive to my existence or to any other beings that share our planet of limited resources. That the fashion industry and associated industries that produce an abundance of cheap clothing for the first world is a significant user and waster of resources such as water, transport and human labour is well known. The garments exhibited in 30 Coats are part of the contemporary art movement of reconstructing art objects from found materials. However, they are also located in the even more ancient tradition of domestic economy that was practiced over millennia by women, in which fabrics and the garments made from it were valued and reconstructed and recycled into various utilitarian uses around the home until literally threadbare. In all cultures around the world, this reuse and remaking of fabrics developed specific methods and techniques. For example, there was patchwork in Europe, boro in Japan, Korea and China, and kantha in India. Almost all the fabrics used for the coats are sourced from thrift shops in my local area, specifically the Vinnies in Murrurundi, the Red Cross shop at Scone, the community-run shop at Aberdeen, and second time around in Tamworth. And interestingly, of those 4 shops I just quoted, 3 of them are now closed 2 years after this was published. Back to reading. My favourite items to upcycle have become sheets and doona covers, though the exhibition coats also utilise textiles from upholstery offcuts, table runners, excuse me, cushion covers, blankets and used clothing. A minuscule percentage of the fabric used on 3 of the coats is new. These are fabrics I've had digitally printed on demand by the metre from image files I've created in Photoshop. The printing companies producing these fabrics all use sustainable processes and resources. Excuse me, I'm going to have a good cough. I examine and select the used fabrics carefully. Choices based on the fabric type, the condition of the piece, such as whether it has stains or tears, and its potential for long-term durable use into the future. Most of the coats in the show are made from a combination of fabrics that are either 100% cotton or cotton polyester mix. On the occasions where I've used woolly man-made fabrics, such as polyester and acrylic, it's usually because it's a vintage fabric that I've valued for its interesting colour or pattern evocative of a particular era of 20th century textile design. Last sentence. For stenciling and painting on the fabrics, I use the textile ink products of 2 companies based in Sydney, Australia, Permaset and Hybridtex. The textile paints are non-toxic, environmentally safe and colour fast. Excuse me for my coughing and choking and spluttering. The fact is, I don't talk to people a lot. I don't usually talk for more than a minute at a time. So my poor old voice box is quite feeling the strain. So that's a little bit of information about my principles of sustainability in the studio.